May I kindly invite our chief guest of today's program, Mr. Venkatachalam Ramakrishnan, to give the chief guest address. Sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Nirupa and Anisha. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My introduction was like Bahubali Part 1 and Part 2. It was never ending. So thanks for that. It was really nice. Good morning to all of you. It's 4 a.m. in the morning for me. So if my energy levels are a little down, sorry about that. I'm really sleepy. So pardon me about my lack of energy. Uh, I know it's a big day ahead for you, and I will not be taking too much time, probably 15-20 minutes. And this is also the second time I'm addressing SRM TRP Engineering College students this month. And I would request on a lighter note to Victor sir that, please don't call me for another 1 month. Otherwise, I will break the record of Kumki in terms of repeat telecast on Vijay TV. They got the rights for Kumki, and every weekend they have been, only telecasting Kumki. So I don't want to become another Kumki here. So that was on the lighter note. Anyway, so you all know what Toykathon is, so I'm not going to get into that. But one phrase, one sentence that caught my attention on the website was it's about challenging the young minds, the innovative minds, to conceptualize novel toy and games based on Bharatiya civilization, history, culture, mythology, and ethos. Very important, and that's what I'm going to touch about in my speech today. So I will share some of my thoughts, and I will probably give you two stories. Before you all put yourself on mute, switch off your video, and do your own stuff, let me give you some clickbaits. You all understand what is clickbaits? Uh, it's the YouTube video recommendation and the title that comes, which says that do this and lose your weight within 3 minutes, right? And then immediately you will go and click that video. So it is the way to, keep you engaged in that video. So I'm going to give you some buzzwords, which are nothing but clickbaits here, so that you stay till the end of the speech to understand what it means. So there are three clickbaits that I'm going to, or four clickbaits I'm going to give. One is Pal Payasam, okay? And how Pal Payasam comes into toys, right? So one is Pal Payasam. Second is precessional rotation, which is a physics concept, okay? And then third is 19 quadrillion moves of a horse, okay? So three clickbaits. I told four, but I'm only going to give three. So if you want to know how all of this three, a Palpayasam, precessional rotation, which is a physics concept, and a 19 quadrillion moves of a knight. What is a knight? The horse in a chessboard. So the 19 quadrillion, what is quadrillion? It's a million billion moves, possibilities of a horse in an empty chessboard, 8 by 8 chessboard. So how all of this comes together into this Toykathon is the story I'm going to weave. So be there till the end, right? So that is my clickbait. Now let me share my screen, and it's a short 5-slider presentation. Let me first. Yeah. I hope the screen is visible. So this one, I don't know if many of you know about it. It's called as a fidget spinner. So a fidget spinner has a ball bearing in the center. It's multi-load. Typically, it will have 2 or 3 flat structures around that center ball bearing part. And it became a sudden sensation in the year 2017, right? Just Google about this. Millions and millions of children in the world were buying this, especially in the US and UK. I don't know what was the situation in India, but millions and millions of children were suddenly buying this. This became hugely viral. Many toy shops became, overnight profitable. Many people became millionaires. Almost every child that you know of, right? If you just go on the streets, they will just keep spinning this and they will keep walking. It was promoted, right, as a toy that was used to relieve nervous energy. It was promoted as a toy that will help people focus, alleviate anxiety and psychological stress. And it also claims that it helps in addressing or aiding people with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and autism, right? So these were all the claimed benefits of this toy. It became hugely viral, but there is no scientific evidence to any of these claims. So millions and millions of fidget spinner was sold, and then it died down, right? Now, why am I saying this story? Well, if you compare fidget spinner and if you just Google about fidget spinner, Probably this is a toy that got invented in the 1990s, became viral in 2017, and it died down. It has a lifespan which is less than my age, right? But compare this to a toy called Pambaram. Okay, and I'm given to understand that there are also people from outside Tamil Nadu, so I will try to stick to English. Compare this to Pambaram or the spinning top, right? This is our own native toy, and it has been there for ages. In fact, it has references in Ramayana and Skanda Purana, right? In Kamba Ramayana, there is a clause that comes, Pambaram Pola Surandran, right? So even if Rama's era was say 3000 to 3500 years roughly, and even if we assume that Pambaram did not exist during Rama's era, at least it would have existed during Kamban's era, which is only 800 years back, right? About 11th century, 12th century timeline. So maybe Kamban would have played with Pambaram, and he would have used this metaphor to describe somebody who was either dancing or working there. So that's why Pambaram Pola Surandran, that phrase comes in. So this is a native toy which is around for more than 700, 800 years minimum, right? In fact, it's not just Kamba Ramayanam or Skanda Puranam. Even in Tayu Manavar's Paravarakkanni, which you might have come across in your school days, there is a couplet that goes like this. Adioi Parampol, Adioi Pambarampol, Asayudan, Yengamune, Tedioigindre, Yenseven Parabarami. And if you search on Tayu Manavar's all the couplets, the Pambaram reference is there at least in 3 or 4 places, right? In Paravarakkanni, I just quoted, this is the 209th couplet or so in Paravarakkanni, but in other places also Pambaram comes. So this is our native toy, which is more than 900 years old, and it is on the decline, right? I am sure many of you who are millennials today might not have played with that. I have definitely played with that because I belong to the 80s, 90s era. I am sure many of the professors who are my age would have also played. I am sure their parents would have also played. But why am I talking about this? See, fidget spinner is a toy that you will have to sit in a single place and keep, spinning it, right? There is absolutely no science to it. There is no skill set required. Whereas, if you have to spin a top properly, if you have to spin a Pambaram properly, right? First is you need certain skill sets. We need to tie the thread, wind the thread, or what we call as satai, in a tight manner. So what this does is, for a child, it actually improves your fine motor skills of your fingers and hands, because only when you wind the rope tightly will the potential energy be higher and higher, and when you leave it with a force, it gets converted into kinetic energy and the top will keep spinning for a longer time. So your motor skills actually improves. Whereas in a fidget spinner, you just hold it within your 2 fingers and you just do like this and it keeps spinning, right? Whereas in Pambaram, there is a fine motor skill involved. Second is, even to play the game, right, you need to first put a circle on the ground. You will have to aim it in the center of the circle of the, aim it at the center of the circle, and you'll have to leave the spinning top, the Pambaram, which means your hand-eye coordination and your aiming also improves, right? That is the second skill set, right? Then, so this is about, so there are 2 things that I have told you. One is the cultural, the Bharatiya civilization, where we spoke about Kamban period, where this was referenced, Tayu Manavar, that is the Bharatiya civilization part. And second is the skill set that it improves, the fine motor skills of children that it improves. Third, there is also an element of science here, right? Because the Pambaram is oddly shaped. If you look at the Pambaram and you try to make it stand in a stable position, it will not stand. Why? Because it's heavy at the top and it is very thin at the bottom, right? It's very, very thin. So how is it able to spin? That is where the concept of torque, angular momentum, moment of inertia, and rigid body dynamics come into picture, right? There are equations that kick in order to understand how this top, which is so oddly shaped, right? The base is so thin, is still able to stand on the thin nail and keep spinning, right? Fine. You have released the Pambaram, it started spinning, but what keeps the top spinning, right? That is again the torque. Now, how does it come to an end? It comes to an end because of the Newton's law of motion, right? There is a friction force that starts acting on that nail, right? And then because the friction force starts, it doesn't slow down over a period of time and it suddenly falls down. It starts wobbling, but it still keeps spinning. That is where the concept of precessional rotation comes in. wherein there are two axes that will come. So while it is still wobbling, it will still keep spinning. So you look at the amount of science that we are learning here, right? There is rigid body dynamics, there is fine motor skills, there is Newton's law of motion, plus there is precessional rotation, right? Now, I don't know if many of you might have seen this movie called Jagame Tandiram. It just got released 2 days back. In one of the scenes, Dhanush, the character Surali, right? He throws the top and catches it mid-air, right? You can do tricks with spinning top, with Pambaram. That actually ensures that your reflex actions are also fine-tuned. Because to catch a Pambaram in mid-air is not easy. To take it from the ground and make it spin on your hand is easy. It's called Singam, or in slang words, it's called apite, right? Whereas when you catch it in mid-air, it's not that simple, right? That is where your reflex action, because you need to know when your hand should meet the spinning top mid-air so that it remains stable on your hand. So that reflex action also improves. So just to play this simple game, look at what all happens, right? There is science, there is skills. The most important takeaway from this is to play Pambaram or spinning top, you need at least 2 people and you have to go outdoor, which means your social skill also improves. Today, people are talking about vitamin D deficiency, going out and playing, because today's generation is only playing video games and all they will work out is only their thumb fingers at the mats. Whereas to play Pambaram, you have to go to a ground, at least outdoors or to your garden, right? Or to your backyard. You cannot play it in your hall. You cannot play it in your bedroom, right? And you need one more person, which means your social interaction skills also improve. So in summary, there is a lot of science. There is also civilization aspect here because you learned some amount of literature today. There is Thai, Manavar, Kambar, etc. Of course, there is a lot more that you can Google search and look at Pambaram references in Tamil literary works, and then fine motor skills, right? So if we can combine, if a toy like fidget spinner, which does not have a lot of science or physics or skill set improvement or literature or civilization in it, can become viral and can sell millions and millions, why can't we market Pambaram also like that to today's generation? That's the thought that I want to leave you with, right? So my first clickbait, precessional rotation, came in this story. Now let me go to the next story. So a lot of kids today might have, when I say kids, I mean college students might have, played games like you would be what, in your 18, 19 years, 20 years, or you would have just passed your teens, right? Second year, third year, fourth year college students. So you might have been introduced to mobile phone at the age of say 12 or 13, say 2012, 2010 timeframe. So you would have played games like Candy Crush or Angry Birds, or nowadays, you play games like Age of Empires, Brawl Stars, Call of Duty, and so on, which are supposed to be the strategy games. But I want to combine and talk about our own version of a strategy game called Chaturanga or chess. Why chess? Again, let's combine mathematics in this game, right? And I will tell you 2 sub-stories about chess, and that is where my next 2 clickbaits come. If you have gone to Kerala, you might have heard about a place called Ambalappuzha. Ambalappuzha is famous for, one is Krishna temple, but the other thing it is very, very famous for is the Pal Payasam you get, the kheer that you get in that temple. It's probably the world's best Pal Payasam ever. So if you have not visited, please go visit it and have that Pal Payasam. Just for the sake of Payasam, it is worth the visit in your lifetimes. Go there, visit, and have that Pal Payasam. There is an interesting backstory about this Pal Payasam, right? There are many legendary stories, but I will tell you the story that I heard when I was a child. The king who was ruling that place, right? He was the king of a place called Chemmakasheri, right? He was very good at the game called chess, right? And he was so arrogant that he challenged anyone in his kingdom to come and beat him in a game of chess, and he will give whatever the person wants. So what Lord Krishna did was he disguised himself as a poor mendicant, and he went to the king and accepted the challenge because he wanted to teach the king a lesson. Krishna being Lord Krishna, he won the game. The king said, okay, now that you're poor and you won the game, tell me what you want. So all that person, that saint who was who is Lord Krishna in the form of a poor person, said was, take the chessboard, give me 1 grain on the first square. Just keep doubling every square. So in the second square, give me 2 grains. In the third square, give me 4 grains. In the fourth square, give me 8 grains. Just double the number of grains. It's not even grams he is asking, 1 grain. 1 grain in the first square, 2 grains in the second, 4, 8, 16, and so on. The king laughed and said, "Is that all you want?" Right? He said, "Yeah, that's all I want." So the king ordered his servants to, give the grains, and they started placing the grains. Lo and behold, what happened? You want to know what happened? This is what happened. In the first square, there was 1 grain, right? In the 8th square, there was 128. Sorry. In the 9th square, it was double. It keeps on doubling. 16th square was 32,000. Then look at here. In the 3rd row, it becomes 1 million, right? From there to the 5th row, it gets into billion. Then it goes into trillion. Then quadrillion, right? Then quintillion. Quintillion is this number. 18 million billion grains is the total number of grains the king had to give. The king gave up because this was equivalent to some 2000 years of world's production or whatever. And he said, "My ego is gone now. I accept defeat. I will never be able to afford 18 quintillion tons of rice, 18 quintillion grains of rice. So instead, what I will do is I will give free payasa to all the devotees for eternity." Right? That is the. Now, whether the story is true, whether it's a legend, that's all secondary. But what did we learn here? This is called geometric progression and the power of exponential progression, right? It might start at 1 and all we are doing is doubling. But within a chessboard, we went all the way to 18 quintillion, right? In the end, we were able to learn the mathematical concept of geometric progression. Plus, we also learned the fact that the world's best pal payasam is from Ambalapura, right? So imagine chess being used for teaching a mathematical concept here. This can be applied to our real lives also. At the beginning of the year, if you start at a point and you say that point as 1, and you say that every day I will improve myself by 1% than the previous day. By the end of the year, you will be 37 times better than what you were at the beginning of the year. That is the power of exponential progression, geometric progression, right? Now, many of you might have heard the story in your school days, geometric progression, chessboard, grain, there are many versions of the story. But this is one story that you might not have heard. This is about the knight's tour. Knight is nothing but the horse. You all know how a horse moves, right? It moves in an L-shaped pattern. Now, the knight's tour problem, right, is a problem where the knight has to start at a point in a chessboard. It has to go through the L-shaped movement, right? And it has to go through the entire chessboard, passing each of the square only once. Only once. Okay? So if you start at square number 1 and you take a L shape, so you have already been to square number 1. You cannot go back to square number 1. Right? So from 1, you might go to second row, third square. From there, once you have put your leg there as a knight, you are not supposed to go back there again. So you have to keep moving in such a way that you will go to you will visit each of the square only once in that entire tour. That is called as the knight's tour problem. This was a very famous problem. And the person who finally, cracked it was a Western scientist. I'm sure you would have known his name, called Euler or Euler's formula, the theta formula. So Euler was the one who came up with an algorithm for this, and he was also widely recognized. But if you try to figure out how a knight's tour problem is solved, you will come across all these concepts, right? See, from chessboard where we are progressing, you will come about Euler's solution, you will come out Warnsdorf rule, divide and conquer method, brute force method, and this is actually a NP-hard problem. Very soon in your computer science subjects, you will come across what is meant by NP-hard, big O notation of n, and so on. And the space or the number of possible moves for the knight in a chessboard is actually 4 times 10 to the power 51, which is quite a large number, right? And the number of tours that a knight can take is close to, again, 19 quadrillion moves. So it's a huge space that we are talking about. And this was solved in 18th century. But where is Bharatiya civilization in that? I'm coming to that. This problem was actually solved by a person from Kanchipuram called Swami Vedanta Desika back in 1300 time frame. Okay, he was a scholar who was well versed. He was a mathematician, He was a big proponent of our ancient text and so on. You can always look up about him. A lot of Tamil literary work and Sanskrit literary work are attributed to him. 400 years before Euler solved this problem, right? He has solved this as a puzzle, okay, in a hidden format in one of his poetry work called Paduka Sahasranamam. And here I need to give the credit to a person by name Dushyant Sridhar. If you want to know more about Vedanta Desika or Paduka Sahasranam, please look up Dushyant Sridhar. You will get a lot more explanation about that. But let me tell you the solution directly. You can research on this a little later. There are two shlokas of interest here, right? I will not try even reading the shloka, but just like in Tamil Cheyyul we have Venpa, similarly in Sanskrit we have something called a meter called Anushtup Chandas. So Anushtup is nothing but something with 32 syllables. So if you take the syllables, the first shloka syllable, okay, the couplet syllable, there are 32 syllables. You arrange it in a 8x4 board like this. So sti comes here. Stira, ga, sam, sa, da, ra, dhya, like that. Right? So each one of the squares will have one syllable. Okay. Now where is the answer? Where is the night store? That information is hidden in the next shloka. Now look at the syllables in the next shloka. Sti, tha. Now sti is here, right? So let me mark it. So sti is here. Now where is tha here? So ta is here. So this is nothing but are you able to follow? There is nothing but a horse path, right? This is how a knight move. So let me go there. So from 1, the horse then goes to ta. From ta, it is supposed to go to sa. So the sa is here. So it goes to sa. Then from sa, it's supposed to go to ma. So you'll have to look at the second shloka and traverse the path using the first shloka. So if you keep traveling through this, right, you will actually find a number like this. So from sti, you go to ta. From ta, you go to sa, which is 3. From 3, you go to 4. From 4, you go to 5. From 5, you go to 6. 6, you go to 7, and so on. If you follow this entire horse path, right, it would have moved in each of these square only once. And this is the last position. Now, this is a 8x4 chessboard. Now, in an 8x8 chessboard, your fifth row will come here. So all you need to do is take the horse here. Once it comes here, it is nothing but again traversing the path, just like how the top half was. So that was the solution he gave 400 years before Euler in a poetry work called Paduka Sahasranama, and he is from Kanchipuram. Right? So I'll not get into the meaning of the shloka, the background, etc. But this is just to tell you that there is a lot of hidden gems. Even in the in our native games, there is also a lot of hidden gems which is associated with these games to the literary work, right? And then there is a lot of social element, there is fine motor skills element, there is thinking element, and so on. So there is a lot of science that goes behind all the native toys that we have in our civilization. That's what I wanted to establish. So all the 3 clickbaits are done. So we saw the night store. Probably it's a problem that you might face in your interviews as a part of your neural network programming or so on, right? It's a NP-hard problem. So neural network is also covered. There is a lot of advanced science also that we covered, right? There is also Bharatiya civilization that we have covered. There is also literary work that we have covered, and also native games that we have covered. I know I'm almost at the top of my allotted 20 minutes, so I'll just go to the last slide. I just wanted to leave you with a couple of thought process, right? So even if you take any game, say Snake and Ladder. So Snake and Ladder also has a lot of philosophy in it, right? So lives will always be with, lots of ups and downs. Like there will always be snakes that will pull us down. There will always be ladder that will come and, propel us further. So Snake and Ladder kind of mentally prepares us for success and defeat alike, how to treat both these situations alike. So that sportsmanship or, taking everything with a chin up and so on. So that is something that we learned from Snake and Ladder. If you take Marapachi toys, there is a beautiful YouTube video by Anita Kuppuswamy on YouTube. So where she talks about how Marapachi toys are passed from generations to generations. They are made of, made from trees with medicinal values. and they are used as teethers before the current teethers came into existence. So they were given to toddlers to chew upon when their teeth were, just when their teeth are just coming out. So Marapachi toys has a lot of cultural significance and also health significance. Now, where can young minds like you, apply today's concepts to make some of these toys more and more famous is, say, take Talayati Bommai, right, of Tanjavur. If you can create a version of Talayati Bommai where the Talayati Bommai is in motion perpetually, because today if you go and touch the Talayati Bommai, it will, keep shaking for, say, probably 5 minutes and it will stop. Again, you'll have to go and touch it. Why not put a small solar panel behind, wherein, every 5 minutes it just keeps, giving a nudge. So perpetually it will be in motion. So that's something that is a bit of an innovation that we bring in. Or look at what Barbie toys do today, right? Or the Toy Story toys do today. So there is a small electronic element within the toy which will start giving rhymes, songs, etc. I am sure if you Google up, there will be a lot of folk songs around Marapachi toys. So why can't we, introduce some of these electronic concepts also into Marapachi toys, where today's younger children are also given, where Tamil rhymes come out of these toys when they touch a particular location within the toy, right? So those are the type of innovation that we can bring in. I know it is tampering with native toys, but sometimes we'll have to grow with time, adopt with time, just to make it more appealable without changing the entire concept behind it. So with that, I would like to conclude my address, and I hope this was useful. At least you were able to get a couple of points that you might not have come across before. I will really look forward for some of your innovative ideas that is going to come in the next 3 days. Thank you.